Not very many people even know the cause of Stephen's death because I do not want to be the poster child for the anti-vax movement.
Have you ever heard of a program called the Vaccine Injury Support Program? Because I'm ashamed to say that until yesterday, I had no idea it even existed. Today is the 4th of July, so to all our American friends, happy Independence Day. Yesterday, 6 Canadian airports were hit with bomb threats. Daniel Smith announced yesterday that Alberta is going to create a new provincial police force that will be led by former Calgary chief. Blacklock reporter reports that as per a federal board, Canada's first prime minister has become too polarizing and controversial to warrant any new federal sponsored commemoration. And finally, Rob is going to like this one. It seems that our American women are finally going to get justice because the NCAA has decided to strip Leah Thomas of all of his titles and will personally apologize to all the competitors who lost to the biological male. Let me ask you the question of the day. Do you believe that Trump is reshaping Canada? Get your comments ready because the show starts now. I received an email this morning, and that was the headline of the actual email. How Trump moves have reshaped Canada's path. And I'm like, you know, I spent a good hour reflecting on this morning because is it Trump that's reshaping Canada, or is it that 10 years of liberal policies have weakened us so much that he's capable of taking advantage of it? I won't go into too much detail in the article itself, but obviously they talk about dropping the DST, the digital services tax that our finance minister last week said it's on, and it had been on for over a year. It's something that Trudeau had put in place.
Yep.
But they said last week, we're beating the drum. It's going on. Next thing you know, Trump sends a tweet off the throne and bazinga, we don't have the digital services tax is gone. Then they talk about border protection and drug enforcement because we have a massive problem where I think they estimate like it's something ridiculous, like 500 miles of border between Canada and the US is unprotected. Like it's insane. It's through forest and nobody checks. Yep. They make a good point because you look at Bill C2, which tyrannical as hell, but Bill C2 came from Trump saying, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing with your border? And if you remember, that's how he kind of pushed the tariffs on us, right? Going to put tariffs on you, and if you secure your border, we will remove them.
There's just a funny anecdote that you bring that up about this unprotected border. So I live in a border area. I'm in New Brunswick, and there's about a town called Woodstock, New Brunswick, about an hour away, where there's an actual crossing. But not far from there, there's a swimming hole, and you go there. And it's like a small river, and on the other side of the river is America, on this side. And you go in there, and there's kids swimming, there's Americans, kids swimming. There's absolutely nothing to stop you from just going a few more feet, getting out in America, and keep going. Or if you had a bag full of drugs or what have you, it's pretty funny, right? Like you're swimming, it's just a regular swimming hole, and like America is a stone's throw away, and you can literally walk to it, not protected at all.
Yeah, there's a few of those, like in Montreal where I'm close. We're just out like about an hour, not even from a border crossing. And there's a few places it's literally you can walk.
Yeah. I have to imagine
the road is a dead end, and it's like, please don't pass here.
Yeah.
Passing over.
Whatever you do, don't take drugs down here because United States is that way. Please don't do it.
Then they mention upping defense. So obviously they're talking about the fact that Carney had just approved to grow our NATO contribution to 2% of GDP. Trump is like, not enough. We need 5%. And also, you look at internal trades barrier, economy, and election. And because you look at both the liberals and the conservative, they run on a platform of, we will fight Trump. We will fight Trump. Like none of them, neither Pierre Poilievre or Carney said, no. They're our biggest allies. We will make sure that 75% of our exports are safe. Yes, we should become more self-reliant, but we still need to depend on them for at least a decade until we build the infrastructure and the pipelines and the manufacturing that we need in Canada in order to replace all the products we're sending down south, right? I just found the article to be super interesting because it raised very valid points. But I mean, I just want to take this because this is exactly how I feel, like angry Canadians saying Trump reshaping Canada. No. Exposing our fearless leader as an idiot. Yes. So I would probably replace the fearless leader as an idiot. And I would just simply say that Trump is just exposing the fact that we're so weak after 10 years of liberal policies that he can literally come in and make any demands that he wants because we have no leverage. There's nothing you can do to fight him on it. And whose fault is it? Is it Trump's fault? No, it's our fault, because believe me, if we were capable of doing it to the US,
we would.
Don't give me this shit that we wouldn't. Like, fuck off. We do the same thing if we had the power to do it. So I just found the article to be interesting, and since we have such smart listeners, I figured it would open a conversation that could be potentially a rabbit hole.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good one though. Like, I mostly kind of agree with what angry Canadians here. Like, you can kind of both are correct here. Like, angry Canadians says Trump reshaping Canada. No. Exposing our fearless leaders, idiots. Yes. But then I would say that in doing so, he is reshaping.
He's reshaping Canada.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of an either or. And I think any American president, any person who has the power and might of the U.S. government at their disposal has the ability to do that to Canada. Just most presidents haven't. I think it seems like most of the presidents of recent times have sort of had this idea like, oh, we can't, we're the big guys, and so we can't go and throw our weight around. And that may be admirable on one sense, but it isn't America first. And I think Americans kind of got sick of it. And they just said, you know what, we want a president who will unapologetically advocate for Canada, for us, and use the power that we give him in order to do that. I know on the other side, it kind of feels like bullying, or it feels uncomfortable. It does suck, but at the end of the day, it's all you can ask for. Like, really, every leader should unapologetically use their power to further what's in the best interest of their own country. So it's hard to blame America and Trump for doing that, even though it does suck being on the other end of it. And, as we've said time and again, the solution is to strengthen our position economically on the global stage by investing in our economy, turn ourselves into an energy superpower, get export capacity on both coasts so we can sell to more than just one customer. We'll be able to sell much more energy at a higher price. And then we might actually be able to put our foot down and say no. And then we might get some leverage too.
Yesterday, there was 6 bomb threats throughout Canada. 6 different airports in Canada have been hit by bomb threats. And up to now, we still don't know why. We still don't know what happened.
This was the scene at Ottawa's International Airport Thursday morning. The terminal crawling with police officers, sniffer dogs, and hundreds of passengers left waiting.
There's cops everywhere, and we're like, what's happening? People are piling up. They just kept saying security threat.
More specifically, a bomb threat. NAV Canada, which oversees air traffic control, says early morning threats affected flights out of Ottawa, Montreal, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, and Vancouver. Staff were moved to safety while the agency and police swept the area. NAV Canada says operations are back to normal, but dozens of flights, including to Toronto and Halifax, Chicago, Fort Lauderdale, Washington, even Paris, were delayed or canceled, leaving passengers in the lurch.
And NAV Canada asking passengers to continue checking their flight status before they head to the airport in case of any further disruptions.
And Nicole, it's pretty interesting how quiet authorities are keeping about this investigation.
That's right. They're not saying much about this bomb threat because of security reasons, but Winnipeg RCMP did say that the airport there received a call at 6 a.m. saying there was a bomb in the air control tower. When they did a sweep, they found nothing. But the investigation into exactly what happened continues. NAV Canada working with both police and Transport Canada to find out what happened.
So there you have it. You know, those type of things make me, I don't want to say makes me laugh, but it kind of reminds me of, you know, a bunch of students that don't want to have the exam today in school. They call in and they plant a fake threat. Yeah. 6 different airports in Canada all at the same time. Do you really think they're going to call in?
As I was watching, I was thinking, has there ever been, even one time when someone called in a bomb threat and it was actually a bomb? Like that, like, it doesn't happen. That it defeats the entire purpose of planting a bomb if you're inclined to do so, right? Like, and it's just there has to be. I'm not saying you ignore bomb threats, but that seems to me like such a weak spot in society. Yeah. If you can allow, because like shut down the 6 busiest airports in the country, that effectively brings the country to its knees, right? We can't make it that easy to shut down the 6 most busiest airports. A fucking phone call anybody could do from a phone booth.
How good is your security? Like, how good is your security if all it takes for you to doubt is a phone call? That's how, if that's the case, that means our airport security fucking sucks.
Well, and 6.
It just sucks.
Like, yeah, you would assume it's probably hard to get a bomb into any place in an airport where it's hard, where it's able to do real damage. So to do it 6 places, that right there should tell you it's bullshit. Now, I understand you can't just ignore those things, but there has to be a way that they can check, double check, triple check while continuing for the airport to function as it's intended.
Alberta announced yesterday a new provincial police that will be led by former Calgary chief. Here is CTV News.
The province is moving forward with its own police force. Premier Danielle Smith says it will eventually be called the Alberta Sheriff's Police Service and will complement the RCMP and other police services, not replace them. CTV's Miriam Valdez-Carletti joins us live with more on the story this evening.
Voice.
So, Miriam, if it's not replacing police or RCMP, what will this new service be doing?
Well, Public Safety and Emergency Services Minister Mike Ellis says the service will improve safety and close gaps, especially in rural communities. He says when Albertans call 911, they expect someone to show up regardless of their uniform.
I have heard horror stories right across rural Alberta when it comes to shortages within detachments. I've spoken to First Nations, Métis communities who have complained about their current contract service provider and the lack of police presence in their communities. With that being said, we need to be ready for the future of policing in Alberta.
The current RCMP police service agreement with provinces and territories expires in 2032. Ellis says it would be negligent on his part to not explore alternative options to RCMP. Smith says more than 80% of Albertans are currently served by municipal police, not the RCMP.
There's 2 things worth mentioning about this video, and you guys correct me if you think I'm wrong, but it sounds to me that Daniel Smith's kind of prepping in case they do separate from Canada.
That was my take, 100%.
So she is very smart. She is very fucking clever. Because she's telling it right now, no, it's not to compete against the RCMP. We have a contract with them until 2032, but it'd be stupid for us not to investigate it. And she's right. But she's prepping in case.
Yep.
In case what she's hearing about Alberta next over the summer and whatever happens with the referendum next year, if they separate, they know they can literally switch. And the other thing I want to mention, and I'll let you do your thing afterwards, is I hope they do like the US where sheriffs are elected, because that's another thing that we don't have in Canada. Our police force are not elected. If you look at your municipal police, which most Canadians, that's who they deal with, you don't elect the person that runs the department. They're chosen by the
mayor usually.
Exactly. But I like the thing. I spent a lot of time in the US, and that's one thing that I like that we don't have here, is that they will have their municipal police that is enforced by the mayor, or not the territory. There's a term for it. Why am I drawing a blank right now? But they also have the sheriff.
County or
the county. Thank you. Yes, county.
Yeah.
It's the county. That's what I was looking for. So they will have sheriff. They will have police officers for that county, but they also have a sheriff that they elect, which I like that. I like to be able on the municipal level to choose who is responsible for my police force. We focus a lot on federal news. We focus a lot on provincial news, but at the end of the day, if you want to change the world, you change the world one community at a time. And how do you change that community? Know who's on your school board, who's the school board.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
The school boards, who's running it, who's your mayor, who's the people in that office, who's your police force, deal with them. You want to change your community, change those people. And this electing a sheriff just makes sense to me.
I mean,
but I don't know that that's what they're talking about. They might just be using sheriffs to separate themselves from the existing police force. But I hope they elect it, because I've always liked that principle.
And I think sheriffs in Canada, at least where I'm from, have a different meaning. The sheriffs are the people that ferry prisoners back and forth to court and jail. They're not like out there doing law enforcement. But you know that's I guess I'll adjust that part you brought up there. It's not really what the video is about, but it's an interesting debate, an interesting discussion. I would certainly be open to it. Like, should we elect our own local police?
I like it.
I certainly, I understand the principle of the local public should have a say in their who polices them. On the other hand, I can support that and agree with it. I would like to make sure there's some safeguards in place, because you do hear about some like rural counties down in the States where like it's basically like a local fucking crime gang, right? Where the local sheriff is just this like fucking boss hog type who has like the county under lock and key through corruption, and you probably want to, as long as there's safeguards to avoid that, I'm down with it.
Are you talking about like native chiefs, for example?
Well, I wasn't, but they also they very
I like
much.
the face.
It wasn't, but let me do a land acknowledgement first, and then I'll answer.
Every time. Hey, by the way, guys that are listening, if you see me do this is what I'm doing. Is because they're kissing. Because even him, he had to talk about the Métis people. So I'm like.
Yeah, exactly, right? Exactly.
Every time I do this is a land acknowledgement, just so you guys know.
But to the topic at hand, I think that's exactly what you said is exactly what went through my mind. I was like, fuck, Danielle Smith is on the ball. And I think there's some political comment, like some political analysis behind this, in that she's smart. She's prepping the stage. But there's also part of me that wonders, perhaps you can, again, a lot of the stuff that's going on with the Alberta sovereignty movement right now is behind closed doors, right? It's happening in meetings, it's happening in town halls. It's not really in the news yet. So we are not really privy to it. But Danielle Smith and local Albertan leaders, they would have a sense of which way the wind's blowing. And part of this makes me wonder if maybe they are thinking that this is more likely than not at this point. Because as as Nico said, everyone, even people who are pro-sovereignty, I think many people don't think it through the logistics of what that means. They don't think like, okay, well, shit, who's going to police us? Because right now it's the RCMP, and that's a federal force. One thing that guy, the Minister of Public Safety that was talking at the end of it, I don't know if you caught that, but he said, blah, 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 we're just doing due diligence, we're just, it would be negligent if we didn't explore options, which is all pretty standard for what you expect. And then he's like, especially if we don't know what policing is going to look like in the future in Alberta. To me, that's a pretty clear signal that that is what they're thinking. That is the thinking behind that is, okay, there's a good chance that we might be a sovereign nation at some point. Yeah. And, building a police force from scratch is a lot harder than just adding to an existing force.
It takes time, right? It takes time. You test it, put the protocols together. You want to be able to have kind of a roadmap as to, if you're in that area, this is the people that are going to be responding. So there's ways around it, but you need to put it in place and actually test it out.
100%.
So for them to do it now, a year before the referendum, put it in place, see how it works, is very clever. I think fucking clever.
Well, it is just good governance. I think Danielle Smith is, like, regardless of politics, what have you, she's just a smart woman. And she is, she is the epitome, in my opinion, of what good governance looks like.
So here is a subject that started going viral on my Instagram yesterday, and I kind of feel bad considering that I talk about the whoop whoop. I have associations with some of the biggest organizations about that. I've recorded so many podcasts talking about this. I got fucking banned on Facebook for talking about this during the whoop whoop times. And it turns out that Canada actually has a $50 million program called the Vaccine Injury Support Program that help people that are vaccine injured. And this is kind of blowing my mind because this is a video that was shared by Global News 2 days ago, and it's the same video I saw on Instagram. So listen to this. Tell me if you knew about this, but this is very fucking interesting how we went from me getting banned last year for talking about whoop whoop and what happens when you get whoop whoop to having CTV News talk about it. And now we have a government-funded program to help vaccine injured.
I have not gone public ever, and not very many people even know the cause of Stephen's death because I do not want to be the poster child for the anti-vax movement.
Stephen McDougall was 45, a father of two with an entire life ahead when he died.
Myopericarditis post-COVID vaccine.
His widow, Kimberly, was told a new federal program would help people financially if they were seriously and permanently injured. The Vaccine Injury Support Program, or VISP.
It's like a lottery, right? You never think it's going to be you.
The government hired an accounting and consulting firm, Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton, now called Oxaro, and paid them tens of millions of dollars to run VISP. But Global News spoke with vaccine-injured people and former workers across the country who say that program is chaos. Unskilled staff running a system unequipped to handle thousands of claims, leaving the injured waiting months, sometimes years, for help.
It got to a point where everything was a battle.
After 11 months, VISP approved Kimberly's claim and paid a death benefit worth roughly 3 years of Stephen's former salary, the maximum amount allowed by the Public Health Agency of Canada. And while VISP claims it will continue to support you for as long as needed, for Kimberly and her children, that meant only offering to pay for enough therapy to cover weekly sessions for a little over 3 months.
And then my kids are supposed to be fine. I'm supposed to be fine.
When COVID hit, Canada was the only G7 country without a vaccine injury support program.
We kept telling people, you don't want to stand these things up right in the middle of an emergency.
But during a pandemic,
we're creating a federal support program.
That's exactly what happened.
What we saw from global experiences, things don't go great.
And they didn't.
Thank you for contacting the Vaccine Injury Support Program.
Shannon DuPont's claim was approved.
To speak to a dedicated case manager.
And yet 4 years later, she's still battling VISP. With each of her 3 COVID shots, Shannon's health got worse. Vision loss, an autoimmune disorder, Bell's palsy.
My face literally looked like it was melting off on one side.
Unable to work, VISP said it would pay for her lost income and some of her injuries.
I'm on case manager number 9.
But error after error, she says.
They seem to lose everything and then you start all over from scratch.
Has left her $180,000 short.
I definitely cashed out every investment I had. I actually remortgaged my house.
Since 2021, the federal government has paid Oxaro $50.6 million to run VISP. Only a third of that, $16.9 million, has reached the injured.
So where's the money going?
That's insane.
In an email, Oxaro said it aims to provide a process that ensures all cases.
Yeah, let me just...
That's crazy. 4 years?
So it's been... So hold on.
Paid Oxaro 50...
So they got paid $50.6 million. They only gave about $16 million out. And how much you want to bet that a lot of that is in private pockets?
Well, and what she said is, we're wondering where the money went. Where the fuck do you think it went? It went into it's that $50.6 million that Oxaro got paid. You're only paying $16 million out, and you're paying $50 million to run the program. I mean, like we all expect like inefficient government and shitty, like incompetent government running these kind of programs. But that's insane to pay $50 million just to give out $16 million.
$0.6 million to run VISP. Only a third of that, $16.9 million, has reached the injured.
So where's the money going?
In an email, Oxaro said it aims to provide a process that ensures all cases are treated fairly and with the same care, respect, and due diligence. It says its invoices reflect actual costs, reviewed and approved by the Public Health Agency of Canada.
Of course, actual
As for its
costs.
timelines, it says that depends on each claim's nature and complexity. Stephen McDougall's widow says he would have still believed in science, although she no longer believes the government is there to help.
They promised to take care of us. They didn't fulfill their promise.
The Public Health Agency of Canada declined an interview, but says it's reviewing the program and concerns raised. Meanwhile, the federal health minister, Marjorie Michel, reached out to us.
Don't worry, we
The
set up a
allegations
committee to
we've
study the
uncovered are
issue.
Completely unacceptable.
We'll get back to you
And
by
she's asked the
2070.
Public Health Agency of Canada to find a solution and that all options are on the table.
For the people that are new to this show, if you don't know, I started creating content because I refused the whoop whoop. I was an engineer. I lost my career, my house. I lost absolutely everything over this. I even got banned from most social media for a long time because I was talking about this. But what's insane is that do you remember how she started?
I do not want to be the poster child for the anti-vax movement.
You can't even question something that we are told time
That
and
killed
time
her
again,
husband.
that is,
Killed her husband.
but we're told day in, day out, they are safe and effective. This is the motto. This is the religion. They are safe and effective. But I put you to the test. Go to your doctors that will prescribe you whoops, and ask them to give you an ingredient list. They don't even have them. You will have to go find it from the website of the producer yourself. But one thing I wanted to say, so first off, she doesn't want to become an or seen as an anti-vaxxer, which it's so fucking sad that she won't even tell what her husband has been, what he died of, because even the government obviously is VISP is, if the Vaccine Injury Support Program is accepting her claim and is paying out, that means they're saying he was vaccine injured. I speak to a lot of those people behind the scene that the government will simply not admit to it. I know of a woman that has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. She lost everything over this because she now have brain cancer and they would not operate on her here. She had to go to the US, and the US will stamp her diagnosis as a vaccine injury, but Canada refuses to do it. So this is another thing. And I want you guys to understand a couple more things is Big Pharma, especially those who produce vaccines, are the only organizations in the world that are protected by government, that cannot be held accountable for the symptoms of their vaccines. Remember when Joe Biden left, the day that Trump got into power, he fucking forgave Dr. Fauci and he extended the liability protection for Big Pharma until 2029, if I'm not mistaken. He extended it further. So everything you're talking about now are paid by taxpayers' money. So you have a producer of a product that is able to give it to people. They're protected from whatever happens from those vaccines. Shit, I meant whoop whoop. And if there are injuries, the government will pay for it. Tell me how great of a fucking business model is that? If you're if you're Big Pharma, if you're Moderna or Pfizer, and you get the government to pay for the injuries that are produced by your product, and you can't be held accountable, brother, that's like the best business model in the fucking world.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, guys, if you are new to the show, you know, like me and Nico, we don't necessarily have the exact same position on vaccines. One thing we absolutely have common ground on is nobody should be forced to take any medication that they do not choose just to keep a job, just to participate in society.
Yep.
Period. One thing that I would definitely call myself vaccine skeptical, though. One thing that's really sort of turned me my mind, or at least maybe open to the possibility of that there's serious sort of wrongdoing and corruption going on here, is the absolute inability to even talk about
you can't question it.
And it's not even about the harms. Like even to suggest that there might be some people might be harmed by it, and they'll say, "Oh, you're a conspiracy." Like, are you fucking listening to yourself? Every single drug out there can harm someone. But if you're going to tell me that this one specific drug that happens to be a hot button political topic is completely harmless and can never, ever hurt anybody, then I'm going to say you're either a fool or a liar. If the pro-vax people took an approach like, okay, yes, we know that some people can be harmed by vaccines, and we believe that the benefits conferred outweigh the harms, and here's why. I might not agree with you. I might agree with you, but at least I respect that position and I can engage with you in a constructive debate. But that's not what's going on. What they're saying is, nope, it is completely harmless. And if you even suggest it might not be, then you're a conspiracy theorist. You know, they call people racist for suggesting that COVID was a lab leak. I mean, it's all the same thing. It's like, these are completely reasonable concerns. Fucking Wuhan has a virology institute dedicated to coronaviruses. Even if it wasn't a lab leak, which it was, we know that now, it's completely reasonable to ask the question. And yet they call everyone a racist, conspiracy theorist. The same shit going on here. And, this is what really sort of turns me at least to be open to the possibility that, maybe these people are completely full of shit. Because at the end of the day, the people who shut down any sort of debate, they're usually the ones who are full of shit.
That whole thing is very fucking interesting, that VISP thing. I still cannot believe.
I'm actually surprised that program exists.
Yeah.
I'm shocked, to be honest, because the left and the media have done such an effective job at pushing the idea that there's like vaccines are some miracle drug. Unlike any other drug out there, there's no potential harms, there's no risk, and any suggestion otherwise is you're a conspiracy theorist. And that shit right there, that actually harms their argument. That makes common sense. Otherwise, people who would be inclined to maybe agree with them step back and say, well, hold on a minute. Why are they lying? I know that it harms some people. It's impossible to say that there's no harms caused because we don't fucking know. Not enough time has passed. But then the insistence that, nope, it's completely harmless. By the way, we're going to police your speech and censor you and ban you from social media if you ever suggest that it's not. That right there makes me like, wait a minute, that kind of makes me feel like it's not completely harmless, because if you wouldn't have to do that if it actually was.
I'm very surprised too that I'm not surprised that I'm not surprised that VISP exists. I'm surprised that CTV News is talking about it. Because if I would have reported on this 2 years ago, like I used to talk about all the side effects years ago. I got banned. I got shadow banned. Everything got thrown away. Like, I lost so many fucking followers just because those companies, those Meta especially, kicked me off their platforms for saying what CTV News is literally saying now. I'm not, as much as I feel bad for the vaccine injured, because I really do, how many people do I know that are like me that lost everything? Lost absolutely everything for deciding not to take it. I never got an apology. I never got anything. And I was making hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. And I lost everything over this. How many families were broken over this? How many relationships were broken over this? My family and I are barely, my mother, I just literally saw her a few weeks ago for the first time in almost 4 years, because it completely shattered whatever left of a relationship I had with her. So,
yep. I mean,
and I'm not an exception. I've met so many people in the same boat as how many marriages were broken upon this? How many people divorced? How many relationships with your kid? It's insane what it did. I'm just very surprised to see something like CTV News that takes millions of dollars from our pockets every year in government funding actually talking about that. And I gotta say, the interview, they did not make her sound like a crazy conspiracy nut.
No, she sounded very reasonable.
If you shove that camera in my face and allow me to speak.
Well, it started, yeah. Well, first you have to understand what the WF is all about, and the fucking, Yeah, the Illuminati, and then we'll start there. Yeah, they're like, fucking get out of here. Yeah,
I'm sure.
we will cut this broadcast and then back to your regularly scheduled programming.
But they made her sound
Reasonable.
genuine. She sounded hurt. You could feel her.
Oh yeah,
pain.
that's
She's crying, and
absolutely genuine. Absolutely genuine.
Yeah. Poli Orphans posted that yesterday, saying that
this is ridiculous, man.
That Canada's first PM too controversial for commemoration federal board rules. And if you know anything about me on the show, I don't take posts for granted. I will actually research them.
Yep.
And it's been reported by this is somebody I think I'm gonna buy their subscription. Remember Blacklock? Yep. Blacklock Reporter, we talked about it. So they're the one that reported that. The Toronto Sun in the actual article that Pierre Poliev is mentioning here, actually, they mentioned that it was indeed like right here. So give them the credit where the credit is due. But right here, it said that according to reports published Thursday by Blacklock's reporter, the board recommended that Sir John A. Mcdonald, our first prime minister, who served as Canada's first and third prime minister, garner no further plaques or commemorations. So they're basically telling us that our first prime minister has become too polarizing and controversial. You cannot judge somebody from 150 years ago by today's standards.
You can't do it.
Like you can't. And if you remember correctly, in one of the Free Palestine protests or one of the BLM protests, you remember they toppled one of his statues in Montreal?
Canada's first prime minister pulled from his lofty perch above Place du Canada. As the statue hits the ground, McDonald's head pops off and the crowd goes wild.
This is our first fucking prime minister. Canada wouldn't probably exist if it wasn't for him. And then you have a bunch of pretentious fucks that I don't understand our history, that have never done anything to make this fucking country better. Judge a man from 150 years ago by today's standards. Can you imagine how you would be judged, you fucking woke twat that believes that men can have vaginas and women can have penises? You're going to be held as the craziest fucking twats that ever lived in Canada. I wouldn't judge too many people if I were you.
People are just sick of this constant erasing our history. I've got no problems with the discourse or the dialogue being in depth. If there are some things that aren't great, sure, talk about them. But that none of that has anything to do with recognizing the actual achievements that this person has done. Fucking everybody was racist from by 150 years ago by today's standards. Abraham Lincoln freed the fucking slaves, and he's racist as fuck if you judge them by, like, you think Abraham Lincoln would be okay with his daughter marrying a black man? Wasn't gonna happen. Like, if you want to go down the list, every single person is racist by today's standards. You can't live like that. You cannot judge them by the standards of the day. That's the only fair way to do it. And at the end of the day, this idea that someone has to be absolutely perfect or you just forget them, like you erase them from the historical record, is bullshit. Human beings are nuanced, we're complex. There's not one person who's ever been perfectly perfect. And so,
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Okay. Sure. If that's yes. If that's
God Himself.
If you want to make that argument, sure. It's all designed to eliminate our shared history. It's kind of like what we were talking about the other day. Like, what does it mean to be a Canadian? Well, if these people had their way, it wouldn't mean anything. They're trying to eliminate our connection to our land and our country and our society by eliminating our history, and we can't stand for it.
I thought I'd play a video from Sky News. You know, I like Sky News. Like, they're from the UK. They're from Australia, and they're just twatting on that one. I fucking love it. Here is Here is Sky News talking about Leah Thomas.
Hopefully, there is some justice in the world, and definitely justice for women in the US at last. The Trump administration is dismantling the so-called trans-inclusive policies that really did nothing but exclude and disadvantage real women. The University of Pennsylvania has agreed to revoke the swimming titles of transgender athlete Leah Thomas. The university will also issue a formal apology to every biological female who lost out to a trans competitor. Now, the university was forced to do this because the Department of Education and their Office for Civil Rights found that the university violated Title IX by denying biological women equal opportunity to sport. Now, Leah Thomas was someone who was a biological male. She started doing hormones in 2019, switched from the male swim team to the female swim team, and then miraculously won the national championship.
Yeah.
This is a small step in the right direction, but it is huge vindication for the biological women who've been fighting for their rights for years. And to finally have an apology from the university and some justice, this is amazing.
I've always felt if people are trans and want to compete in sport, that's fine, but let's have an open division. Let's have you can have a separate
tranny league.
That's what they
That's how we're going to call it. A tranny league.
Compete, not necessarily putting them up against.
Has a ring to it, right?
But
Tranny
I do
league.
feel for the
tranny league.
who lost out on the opportunity of having a win and being successful.
To be honest, it's a bit surprising that they came this far. Like, you could imagine some sort of like, oh, we'll quietly strip him of his titles, but they're going out and they're doing a full apology to everyone who was forced to compete against him. Some people are not, like, most people are familiar with the Leah Thomas story. And some people think it's just about the sport, but it isn't. He was also allowed to compete change in the women's change room. The women were not allowed to complain, and any women who did complain were kicked off the team. Riley Gaines, she's a women's rights activist, and she competed against Leah, and this was what radicalized her. She said she was in a change room, looked over, and there's a fucking penis flopping in her face. And no one can say anything. Everyone's terrified because they kicked anyone off who it was shut up. That's a female penis, you bigot. And it's so obviously wrong that, of course, it's nice to see them apologize. It's hard to believe we got to this place where it was even necessary. But it's such an about shift. We talk on the show all the time about this vibe shift, this cultural shift that really came about when Donald Trump became president, I think. One thing that's crazy, in 2022, just 3 years ago, University of Pennsylvania, they nominated Leah Thomas to be the Woman of the Year for their NCAA top athlete, Woman of the Year. So that was only 3 years ago. To go from that to stripping him of his titles and apologizing profusely to every female athlete who had to compete against him it shows you how head-spinning this change is and how fast things are being rolled back. And, you love to see it.
As a fighter, as somebody that competed for years, bro, it's one thing swimming against, like, Riley Gaines did not get elbowed and punched and kicked in the head.
No.
So as much as I feel bad for her, and she's absolutely right to have done what she's done, and they created a monster because good-looking girl, super fucking well-spoken. She's gonna become a politician. There's no fucking question.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You have a guy like Iman Khalif that was able to hit women in the face at the Olympics because he had a micro penis. Like,
if that doesn't strike you as profoundly wrong, you really need to check your moral compass.
Well, goody goo.
Strike you, yeah.
Strike you. That is a good term talking about boxing.
Yeah, and it works. But yeah, if that doesn't strike you as profoundly wrong, you need to recheck your moral compass because it's out of whack. Women deserve fair sport, fair competition. They deserve to be able to compete in sports without being forced to change with men. And that's all true. But all that's true for Iman Khalif's case, but there's even more added on because now you're actually talking about a physical combat sport. And the fact that they allowed a man, a biological male, to beat the shit out of women on the world's biggest athletic stage and win a gold medal and celebrate that man for it just shows you how deep the moral rot of this ideology has brought all of society. And it does seem like we're starting to wake up and give our heads a shake. And you see that with what University of Pennsylvania is doing here. All right, guys, we're going to put a pin in there. Excellent conversation, excellent chat, excellent episode. Some new faces, guys. We always appreciate our new guests, of course, our regulars. If you do want to support the show, please consider becoming a member. You can do so through the YouTube channel. It's $2.99 a month, and you will support the show, allow us to keep bringing you guys this content and these conversations that we love to do. If you have watched here, this show is entirely based on audience interaction. We're trying to create a space where the audience is as important to the show as the hosts. And hopefully, I think we're doing a pretty good job with that, but we couldn't do it without you guys. This show thrives on our audience. And frankly, we may be biased, but I think we have the smartest audience of any show out there. Maybe we'll take a little bit of, do some victory laps and pat ourselves on the back and all this, but we really couldn't do it without you guys. Have a great weekend, guys. Be safe, have fun, but keep her easy. Don't drink and drive, and all the other. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but really, you shouldn't drink or drive. It's just good advice.
It's just like, what the fuck are we giving advices now?
Yeah. Wanda says lots. I'll just take this one quick one because it's just pumping our tires a little bit, and we always like that. Lots of channels taking down most comments. Maybe they don't like the thought question or subject matter. Really not free speech, or is this a podium on YouTube? I'm speaking on all channels. Yeah, and that's why we think we're a different kind of show.
We know bitches here.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's what we're trying to create. And you guys are helping us do it. And we will see you on Monday.
So don't drink and drive.